It is I, the Arma God. In this video, I am going to show you some ways to set up vehicle and player respawns for your mission file. If you have any questions or video recommendations, let me know in the comments. The first thing that we are going to cover is the most basic form of respawn, which is just simply you have a player, if he dies, he respawns on a position, and that's it. So how we do that is we get a respawn module by going up to Systems, you type out respawn, and you'll see respawn position right there. Once you plop that down, double left click to open up its attributes. Under its attributes, we have a handful of options here. The first thing that we need to do is give this respawn a faction. Is it a blue 4 respawn point? Is it an independent respawn point, etc.? For making a blue 4 respawn position, type respawn_west in the initialization box of the module. To make an op4 respawn position, type respawn_east. To make an independent respawn position, type respawn_gorilla. To make a civilian respawn point, type respawn_civilian. Once you have the init box typed out, we're going to go down to name, and this is the name that appears for players in the respawn list, like HQ, FOB, respawn point 1, secure position, etc. Type infantry, side, blue 4. Now for the show 2 bit, this will set a marker on the map where this respawn position is located. Usually what I like to do is just have it selected to only the side, so if you're doing like a PvP mission, the enemy team doesn't see where the opposing players are spawning. Then lastly is notification, and this is more specific for vehicles, but I usually have the notifications for vehicle respawns or any type of respawn disabled, because the last thing you want is you're in the middle of a mission, you're just seeing pop-up splash on your screen, and it's really obnoxious. Just like that, we have our respawn position made, but now we need to adjust our mission settings in order for this respawn position to function. So we're going to go to the top left of our screen here, for the drop down for attributes, and go to multiplayer. I am using the Eden Enhanced mod. Everybody should be using that mod. It makes life a lot easier. Under respawn, you have the drop down arrow, and for this respawn method to work, we select respawn on custom position. We come down to select respawn position, and for respawn counter, you can either have that enabled or disabled, which is essentially tickets like Battlefield. When you run out of tickets, you can't respawn. I usually have the respawn counter disabled to limit heads-up display information. Also, down here at the bottom, you can have tickets subtracted by death or subtracted by respawn. I usually recommend having tickets subtracted by respawn, so the moment somebody hits that respawn button, that's when the ticket gets depleted. If you run the ace mod, there's sometimes a bug where a wounded man counts as a death, so you might end up having your tickets deplete with ace depending on your server settings, your mission settings, bugs, etc. So that's why I always have subtract tickets on respawn instead, because it limits bugs and problems. Now that you have your rule sets made, you're going to go down to respawn delay. Have a minimum of 5-second respawn delay in order for this to work at all. If you want a fast respawn, just have it on 5 seconds. Usually what I like to do is I like to have a 45-second respawn for the player to think about what they've done in order to get to that respawn screen. Next is the allow manual respawn option. I recommend disabling this option because if you have a ticket system, a player can literally just hit escape, respawn, 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 and deplete your team's tickets. I highly recommend having the save loadout option, especially if you're using custom loadouts from the Eden editor. If you would like a respawn position to be disabled until a point players reach, all you got to do is place down a trigger. In your trigger, give it whatever dimensions you need. Have the activation set to whatever it is your mission needs. So for example, if you have a respawn position in a town that you want to be enabled after the op4 element within that town is destroyed, you'd have op4 not present. If you just want it where if players cross this trigger and that enables the respawn point, you just have any player present. Now that you have your trigger settings established, all you got to do is sync the trigger to the respawn position module. For vehicle respawns, all you do is go up to systems, type in vehicle respawn, and you place down that module. Once the module is placed, double click to open it. Under delay, this is how many seconds the delay is between the vehicle being destroyed and respawning. So you can have that be 45 seconds, you can have that be 500 seconds, whatever it is that you want. You can also set a deserted distance, so if a player abandons a vehicle, then that vehicle will delete and respawn. Tickets operates just like player tickets, so for example, if I have 2 tickets here, there's only 2 respawns this vehicle has. We don't need to worry about expression. For position, I highly recommend having it on starting position, which means wherever you place the vehicle in your mission is where that vehicle will respawn. There are a whole bunch of different options that you have in here, but this is the one that I recommend because it's the easiest and fastest. You can ignore position selection. For wreck, this dictates if the corpse of the vehicle persists or if it deletes. I recommend having it on preserve. Notification, just like how I mentioned earlier, have that shit disabled. You can ignore forced respawn. You are required to have a delay for this respawn position to work. I usually have it the same countdown as my players, which is 45 seconds. Now that your module is made, right click, sync to, respawn position, and now these vehicles will respawn in the exact place that I have them here in my mission file. Next, I will cover some more niche respawn methods for players players by going up to Attributes, Multiplayer. By the way, I usually advise to disable the AI slot if you do not want these AI present in your mission. But if you want players to respawn on their group's AI, you're going to have the Enable AI option selected. You're gonna hit the drop down for respawn on group member. So let's say that your player spawns in as a squad leader so that he can command and control his AI. If your player ends up dying, the respawn will go to the next man, such as this fire team leader right here. And if the entire team is wiped, that player will then go to the spectator mode because all of his men in his squad are destroyed. So covering more of these respawn settings, if you have it set to switch to side member, it is very similar to switch to group member where you respawn as an AI, but instead of you spawning as an AI within that squad, you can respawn as any AI within your mission file. If you have it to switch to spectator, basically it's a single life mission. The moment you die, you go to spectator mode. For respawn on position of death, it's exactly as stated. The moment you die, you just respawn where you died. I do not recommend having this one because there's not really a penalty of death for your players and it's just kind of lame, so I don't recommend having this one. Keep in mind that mission creation is extremely difficult if you plan on making something worthwhile. This tutorial is just the tip of the iceberg. Join my Patreon for Eden Editor coaching and please consider supporting the channel. Thanks for watching.